All right, a little time for the Q&A. So here are some questions that came in this week. First question is, what type of treatment does Pacific Shores offer? Well, we've been around for so long that nowadays, basically whatever you need, we have. We started out just as sober living, so people were coming from 28-day treatment, and that's a whole other story that I learned of why it was 28 days, what was magical about 28 days. We find out there was nothing magical. It had to do with military and leave time, but here nor there. So we started with that, and then we saw a huge disconnect between inpatient treatment and sober living. So we actually created, back in the early 2000s, we call it transitional living. And then now it's viewed as outpatient and then day treatment. And then we said, oh my gosh, people are coming into our outpatient, but are lacking the foundational skills that you would think one would have from being at a great treatment center. So we started doing treatment. And then we started finding people coming from detox who just been watching movies and hanging out versus, now there is a time for that. For a couple days, people come in and we don't expect you. If you can't get anything out of it, we're not there to say, hey, come on in. It's an invitation. When you are ready, the growth is here waiting for you. And so, back in 08, 09, I forget the year, but we started doing detox. So what type of treatment do we offer? Anything from detox all the way to sober living. And to make sure that we have individualized plans for you to build the foundation. So everybody wears the same foundation. I call it the 5 foundational freedoms, and by the 4 codes. And this is after I actually sat down and penciled this out about a month or 2 ago, because someone asked how many hours I have logged doing this, and how I'm able to be able to navigate and cut right through the quick to get to the real stuff. And I have over 60,840 hours logged of learning, working, studying, reading, seminaring, conferencing, educationing, teaching, guiding, whatever you want to call it, but hours of doing this. So this is why I can say with absolute certainty that the foundations and the 4 codes is what I have seen differentiate people that have come through our program at the same time, even in the same groups with the same facilitators, and one person skyrockets and starts just loving their life and no longer chooses to use drugs or alcohol as a method to sedate, and others go right back to where they came before they came in here. And that is where I saw those 5 foundational aspects that the people that have great lives now versus those that are struggling continue to work on daily and consistently, as well as the 4 codes that they live by, making sure that I call it the 4 C's, but the 4 codes that they are looking and addressing each one daily and just doing, I call it the 1% rule. I'm just going to do 1% today, and then 1% tomorrow, and 1% the day after. And what's amazing is, after a year, you have 365%. And then another year and another year. And as you keep doing those small daily steps, it's amazing how it's like, what's it called? Compound. I forget what it's called, but I remember learning it in college. Anyways, so what type of treatment do we offer? We offer everything from detox to sober living, and we teach you the foundations as well as individualize the plan for whatever it is that you're primarily struggling with or having issues with, so we can get to the core to find out what is driving that behavior. That's question 1. Question 2, can my family visit while I'm in treatment? Absolutely. This is the only disease that I can think of that greatly affects the entire family dynamic. Everything else, yes, there's empathy in different things, but when a person has different diseases, it just does not affect the family the same way that addiction does. So we're big on family. We actually look to do weekly family involvement. We have a whole online resource library that we really get the family involved in. We have a family program as well to help with integration once you're going back home. So for visiting, absolutely. It is something that we set up. Now for the first week or 2, we want to eliminate distractions in the whole familial dynamic. So typically, we want you to get your sea legs while you're here, and then yes, we are big on that. Number 3, third question, what do I do if my loved one isn't ready for treatment yet? This is gonna be tough. I'm just gonna say it. You've gotta let their consequences become their own. What we see so often is loved ones will jump in, and not intentionally, but will actually jump in and shorten the process of consequences. Will try to go in to help the individual, and if a person is not ready yet, we have to let all those consequences fall on them, Because if you think about it, the only time we change behavior is when the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change. I'm going to say that again because it's a little wordy, but it is profound. The only time we change as human beings is when the pain of staying the same far outweighs the pain of change, because there's always pain involved when we are looking to change. And in our mind, we catastrophize that. So we think, oh, I'll just stay here because growing and changing and learning is going to be too painful. The only way we change that is once the consequences come down in its full power and rains hell upon us, that we say, okay, the path of least resistance is change instead of living in this pain. So that is a tough one. We can go a lot deeper. Actually, we have a private community on Facebook for parents and spouses of loved ones that we do weekly trainings on, and just answering questions of how to do interventions, how to hold boundaries, how to communicate from a place of love, yet still holding boundaries and allowing people to act or react however they want, but being clear on what it is I'm wanting from that and to still be there. Our biggest thing is I want to show unconditional love, but that doesn't mean that I tolerate certain behavior. So love the person, hate the sin. That's one of the big things that we're on, and we do those trainings. So here's some of the things that came up this week so sometimes women say, I just want an all-female program. Hey, totally get that. Every once in a while, if a person's been through and we can see some of the dynamics, we will do that. It is rare. I'd say it's probably less than 5%. And here's the reason why. Because in life, we are addressing every issue that pops up, and the issues are not just unisex, if that makes sense. It is, how do I go into a place where, so we have women's only housing and we have men's only housing. We have gender specific groups, but we also have a lot of groups and core groups, which is our group therapy, where we have other people. And what it does is it helps allow the person to speak the truth and to move past the guilt, the shame, the blame, the resentments, the trauma, all the things that we've been carrying with us. And it provides a safe space for us to be able to declare our truth and grow regardless of what's going on around us. So we've actually found more power and purpose by having other genders around to help support, because it is in a safe environment. So every once in a while it does pop up where, yes, absolutely, you need gender specific. But for the most part, I would say that we do have that for safety for living quarters. We have it for safety for specific gender groups, but I have seen people accelerate far greater because they're able to hear from the other person's viewpoint, whether it is, for lack of a better term, a surrogate of their husband or their boyfriend or their father or whatever it is, in a safe place to bring it up, and actually allows them to access far greater and deeper than they would be of just being with women and not having that, I'll call it masculinity presence. So there's femininity and there's masculinity, and as we slide into different roles, we're able to reach different levels of the healing. So that answers that thing that came up. This came up too. This was hilarious. So someone came in and was really vocal of wanting a private room. And I had to be very transparent. I'm hoping through these videos you can see I'm incredibly transparent. I let people know, if your main key for a treatment center is a private room, we're not the right place for you. The biggest thing is, for isolation. We don't guarantee private rooms. I mean, every once in a while we've got one that will open up, but the biggest issue and why we don't have everybody have private rooms is because of isolation. Isolation is addiction. And one of the biggest issues is when a person's able to go back and revert and to shut out the world or shut out the growth that they're working on and go back to them. We do have alone time. We're able to do things in a healthy way, but that's one of the biggest things that I have seen before, where when people have, and we've tried it in the past, going, I demand a private room, and trying to meet everyone's expectations, it just does not work, because the mindset of coming in of, here's what I need. I'm going to be as bold to say this, it may ruffle your feathers, but if you are living life on your terms and you are not liking the results that you're currently getting, I would have you consider your rules or beliefs or the things that you're demanding is not working for you. So to be able to surrender, not from this place of this egotistical of coming at you, but from this place really of love and empathy, and saying, if you're willing to lay down what your rules are and what the demands are, and to be able to come forward and to say, I have tried my way, I surrender, I am willing to do whatever it takes, I think you'd be surprised at the amount of growth and how fast you're able to grow. So that's something that we've seen. And now when people say, hey, I demand this, I just say, look, we're not the right place for you. There's some real high end places where you can get that, no problem. We want to get down to the core. Our biggest concern is where you are, why your addiction is driving you, what it's actually covering, to get to the core so you can heal. And then eventually, once you do, then it's like, yeah, now that you've learned the tools, now you can go out, now you can get your own place, your bachelor or bachelorette pad, and you're gonna want to stay connected. We go through all this, but it's like, then you can try that out. But I have yet to see many people really excel when they cut themselves off or isolate and just want this their own space 24/7. Final thing, can you prescribe medication for me to detox at home? That's not something we do. There are doctors like that, but the reason why we don't is because, well, let's face it, if you could detox on your own, you already would have. And again, not coming from a place of blame or trying to guilt you or shame you. I'm just speaking facts. If you already had the tools and the resources to do what you needed to do, you would have healed at the core and not had to go through the process. So I actually, gosh, in my 2 decades of doing this, I don't think I've met a single person that has done it on their own. I'm sure I will eventually meet someone. There's always the outliers, but I would strongly have you consider, instead of detoxing from home, is to go ahead and to really start the process of doing the work on the core issues that's been driving the addiction. Because once you get the physical part done in a safe and healthy and safe setting, then you're able to address what started that in the first place. That's really what we focus on. So that is the Q&A section.